Count it down. Let's go.
Good morning. It's Wednesday. We are the Run Galloway Girls. I'm Naomi.
I'm Liz, and I totally missed my It's Wednesday because I was taking a sip of my delicious coffee.
We are just waking up.
Yes, we are so excited to be here. We have Penny as a guest on our podcast. As always, she is sitting at the third side of the table. So if you hear some huffing and puffing, it is our dog, or my dog. So we're down in my boyfriend's studio in our house.
Silentwood Studios.
Silentwood Studios. And so we've got, we'll snap a picture, but we finally have like our stuff on the big computer monitor, but we also have a drum kit next to us and stage lights, but also a Peloton and a treadmill. It's a very interesting studio.
It's a multi-purpose studio.
Yeah, because it's both a music studio and a fitness studio. So we were talking like right before we started recording, and I was like, save it for the podcast. This is podcast material.
Yeah, we were just literally chatting about deodorant. Not a very exciting topic.
Safe deodorant is actually the most popular topic in my beauty counter group. For those of you who don't know, I've been a beauty counter consultant and director for 9 years. The company started 10 years ago. So that's a pretty impressive feat. It was started in 2013 and I joined in 2014. And I was one of the first 1,300 consultants.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. And so I can go on, and we will go on a little bit about what Beauty Counter is, but it's basically safe skincare and cosmetics. And their mission is to change the laws so that all skincare and cosmetics are safe. So anyway, I have a big Facebook group, and the thing that like really sparked conversation was always safe deodorant, because the aluminum in antiperspirants has been linked or possibly linked to breast cancers. And then there's also, there was also a study that something like 80% of breast cancers had phthalates in the breast cancer tissue, or parabens in the breast cancers. Now, breast cancer cells. And so we don't know what the role of those parabens in the breast cancer tumors was. Did they cause the tumors? Were breast cancer cells just more likely to absorb parabens? The cause of it was just unknown. And so, like, that's just one of those ingredients that we just don't know the full safety data. That's why you'll see so many paraben-free products out there.
Yeah, and so, we're active. We need deodorant that, at least we feel like, keeps us...
Not smelly.
And kind of like, I like a powdery feel, like something that just makes me feel a little drier. So I'm not...
Yeah. I mean, I'm a super sweater, so like nothing is gonna keep me from developing pit stains or like wet pits. But as long as it doesn't smell, I've actually like totally owned the fact that sweating is like good for my body. Plus, I've learned how to dress over millions of years. Like I wear tank tops and sweaters because you can't like see wet pits through sweaters as much.
Right. But yeah, like when I tried to find some cleaner deodorants. When I found out about, the aluminum linkage, which probably I only found out maybe like 6 or 7 years ago. I know I was like trying different brands, and finally you turned me on to Native.
So this is the funny thing. We're talking about Beauty Counter here, and Beauty Counter does make a safe deodorant that people love. I personally don't like it. But Naomi was like, oh, well, you turned me on to Native, and I love it. And she was just saying her daughter is using it.
Yeah, so. Like of course, my daughter is 10. And so when she started eating deodorant not too long ago, of course, I'm putting her on a safe deodorant at 10 years old. We don't need to develop any cancer in my 10-year-old. So
yeah.
So she loves Native too. She loves all the scents.
Although, so that's like kind of a bold statement. And that is what all like the safe cosmetics people and safe skincare people and healthy, well, not even the safe, but the Green Brigade will all say like, oh, it'll cause. Here's the thing. The science on that is still really early. And the issue is that there are no regulations and there's no proven safety data. And so the burden of proof with the regulations that we have is assumed safe till proven unsafe. Well, it's really, really difficult to isolate certain chemicals in the small quantities with daily exposure in scientific studies to get that burden of proof for both safety and danger, because certain things are dangerous at really high concentrations. Other things are actually more dangerous because they're endocrine disruptors at lower concentrations. So there's evidence of safety at these high concentrations where it's almost like too much to affect your system, but at smaller concentrations they see massive changes. BPA is actually one of those things. So I could talk on and on and on about this. This has been my soapbox forever. And I won't bore everyone with it, but native deodorant is pretty amazing, and we have no affiliation. We just love it. I use the sensitive one because I don't know, I have sensitive skin and I like the feel of it better. There was no reason I stopped using the regular one. I just switched to the sensitive one and felt like it worked better for me.
Yeah, so I use, it's probably one of the regular ones, but what I love is that they now also make the eco-friendly packaging.
Oh, yeah.
So in my household, we're buying the cardboard. It's all cardboard. It's amazing.
That's so cool. That's really, really cool. I'm still using, so to tell the difference between the regular and the sensitive, they'll still have some of the same scents in sensitive, but on the back, it will just say sensitive at the top. That's it. My favorite scent they no longer make was vanilla rose. And I stocked up, and so I have like 4 of them up in my bathroom. But like it was a retired scent years ago. But that was my favorite scent. Right now I'm using candy cane because
is it minty?
It is. It's like sweet. It's like sweet mint. So
yeah, so I use and one of the ones my daughter likes too is the cucumber mint.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's my go-to.
There's also the green tea one is really nice. Like they have some great scents, and one of the other cool things is they're available at Target, so they're kind of available and like kind of everywhere. But Target has the eco-friendly packaging, which is nice. They've got a great website. So that's our little like diatribe into safe deodorant. But one of the reasons that we bring up all of this is we have our very first like possible money-making business venture. So if you would like to support the podcast, you can shop Beauty Counter at beautycounter.com/RunGallowayGirls and support our podcast.
Yeah.
And that's our little promo.
Even if you don't wear, makeup, there's lots of other skin products. There's great sunscreens.
Sunscreen's fantastic.
And moisturizers and, all the other stuff. My kids like when they used to make the kids shampoo.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll maybe bring it back, but.
So they got rid of the kids line and they got rid of the baby line because it was so expensive for the volume they were selling. So they decided to focus in their lane. And again, their mission is to change the law so that all products are safe. So they decided to just redouble the efforts and there are so many companies that are making great, safer, following very similar guidelines as Beauty Counter kids products.
Yeah.
One of the coolest things is Whole Foods and Target both have like a list of between 400 and 600 chemicals and CVS is also very progressive with this. Chemicals that cannot be found in products on their shelves. So that's why you might, let's say you might find something at like a Walmart and be like, oh, I really love this product, and go look for it at a Target or a CVS and not be able to find it. It's because it might contain a banned ingredient at one of those stores.
Basically, it's a lot of things that are banned like in Europe. So they're not, because again, because the FDA doesn't.
Yeah, it's the whole thing with the FDA treating some things like cosmetics are treated as like safe until proven otherwise. And then some things are treated like drugs, which require this huge burden of proof. And that's actually why there was a law passed in 2012 for safer sunscreens that literally has had no progress in the industry because it's the way our laws work with chemicals and drugs. We can't get these safer sunscreens to pass FDA trials in order to come to market here. So one of the workarounds is you can actually order European sunscreens on the internet and get them delivered to you. Or you just order Beautycounter. I've used zinc oxide sunscreen since I was a kid because like there's some ingredient and I don't know what it is, but it causes in like typical sunscreen, it causes me to get chemical burns when exposed to UV light. It's insane. And my mom was like, oh, my little sensitive skin baby needs zinc. Meanwhile, like she put sunscreen all over me. She never put sunscreen on my sister because I was her little blonde fair child and my sister had dark hair and would tan. But really, if you look at our skin tones,
you're both.
My sister is actually fairer than I am.
Yeah, she's fair.
But like it was just like this like thought in the 80s that I was like fair and she was dark.
Yeah.
So. All right. So we did our first little promo. That's so exciting. And then today we have some really fun things to talk about. I think our first thing we should talk about is our long run over the weekend.
So we had 17 miles on tap for the Sunday, and it was long, slow distance.
Yep.
We'd actually only just done 16 a few weeks before, so it seemed like, okay, this is going to be manageable.
Absolutely. 17 felt very, very doable.
Very doable. And so what did we start out with? So we did start out with 15:30s.
We did 2 miles of 15:30s. And we had a little bit, I think, had we not had the 1 p.m., so we started at 9 and we had the 1 p.m. return time because Naomi got Mr. Josh from my center. You can see him on YouTube. Common Ground Childcare is YouTube. So she got Mr. Josh to babysit Julian. And I think had we not had that time cut off, I probably would have said, let's just roll at 15:30s the whole time. So we did 2 miles at 15:30, and then we switched to 30:30s. Mm-hmm. And we started that run very strong with a 14-minute mile, 13:54.
It was amazing.
13:54. And then we cruised on down into the 11:20s for like the rest. Like really, I'm looking at like 12:05 mile 3, 11:51 mile 4, and then we were like in the 11:20s we even dropped a 10:54 in there.
It was probably looking at our overall, like one of our slower long runs in a while, which is even at mostly 30:30.
I mean, 11:54, that's right where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So that's like perfect.
But it's like we've consciously slowed down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And actually, and I mentioned it in Run Gallery Girls on our Instagram yesterday, we looked back at some runs that we did in 2018. And
oh my God.
there was like an impulse for a second to be like, we're not that fast anymore. But then we realized first, we were doing 60:30s. Second, we are much stronger, even though we're in different shape now. We're much stronger runners overall mentally than we were. Like back then, we probably would have gotten depressed by these slower paces.
Yeah.
And like back then,
we wouldn't do them.
We weren't as successful in the longer distances. We were still like crushing it, but not at the rate that we're crushing it now.
Yeah, and you know what I noticed this last training cycle, and I know I've talked about it with you, but training for New York, I'd go and do my marathon, my mile repeats, which are like 30 to 45 seconds faster than goal pace.
Yeah, they're at like a good like 10K, 5K, 10K effort.
Yeah, and they were definitely closer to 10K to or
10K
to
half.
Yeah,
10K to half. They're thresholds.
Yeah, threshold. So, not 5K effort. So I was so consistent in this last cycle versus where, if I look back at what I was doing in, 2018, 2019, I was all over the place back then. I did not have that consistency. I didn't have, so I agree with you. Not only mentally are we stronger, but we're stronger in a lot of areas. Like we can pace better. We can dial in better.
We're also older, and so it's really hard to compare your 34, 35-year-old self with your like 39, 40-year-old self because our bodies are different. And unfortunately, we are not winning the aging battle. Like, we are all going to age. And actually, no, we are winning it because we're supposed to age. We're supposed to age, and we're supposed to age gracefully, and we're supposed to do everything we can to live awesome, long lives.
Right.
But that's not comparing who you were yesterday. It's almost like preparing to be a better you tomorrow, like, but not in a better than yesterday or a beat yesterday kind of way, because that's like kind of creepy. More in a like, more like, oh yeah, it's like playing a video game and earning experience points. We just like earn those experience points, and we're just like, yeah, we got this.
Yesterday, I feel like is a great, for as you start out, or if you are like when I was like 28, 29, 30, starting out running, sure, that was great motivation to be like, I'm going to continue to improve, because I do. If I look back at that time, of course, there's huge improvements.
Yeah.
But now we're aging past the, like, when if you look at pro athletes, female pro athletes do peak later than males. And a lot of them, especially if you're looking at marathon and ultra distance, they are still peaking and winning races in their mid-30s. But by the time they hit 40, they're going to start to see that.
Yeah, we're heading into masters runner territory.
Exactly. And so there's going to be a difference.
But, isn't it funny, though, that beat yesterday kind of philosophy implies that, like, you're always going to push, right? Beat yesterday, be aggressive. And it's almost like, well, no, like, do the best you can today with what you have. And, like, I feel like we have just really realized how important rest is, and how important the, like, zooming out. Like, you can't think about beating yesterday. You almost have to be like, focus on the intent of the day in your macro cycle.
Yeah, and on like race day, or when you feel like, okay, this is the day, like, I just say, I'm like, I'm going to be the best Naomi I can be today. Like, who I am today on that day.
Yeah. So I used to my sister's oldest child, Rowan, when she was little, she used to ask me, because I would come home with a medal from my races, did you win? And I would say, I was the first place Auntie Lizzie out there. And so, and then Rowan would do this super cute thing when she would do the kids' races. She would, like, be with the pack, and she'd be running, and, like, she'd cross the finish line, and she would keep going until she was, like, away from everybody else, and then she'd throw her arms up and go, I'm the winner! And so you just have to, like, run past the finish corral, past the finish line, past the finish corral, and then you can declare yourself the winner.
There you go.
But, like, very much like Megan and David's huzzah, like, Rowan, like, found her space, and then was like, I'm the winner!
Yeah.
Love it. So fun. But yeah, so part of what I was going to write too was about how, sure, we're not, like, training like we were then. We're not possibly as fast as we were then. I mean, like, objectively, we're actually not right now in that shape. But I think we're also better people in our whole lives than we were then, right? Like, you were still studying for your CPA. Now you're a partner in your firm.
Right.
I had
just gotten my license. So I got it in 18.
In early 18?
Mid 18, yeah.
So
still,
you were, like, still on the way. I hadn't started working at Common Ground yet. So, like, I was still, like, figuring that out. I had just started coaching at the Y, which was, like, amazing. It was such a good experience to leave the team that I was with before and, like, going over the Water Wolves. But I hadn't started at Common Ground yet. Like, Julian wasn't a thing yet. Yeah. So, like, you didn't have that love in your life. I hadn't met Brian yet. So, like, I mean, we have, like, more love in our lives. We have better careers. Like, everything about who we are today is better than that. Yeah. Not that that was bad. Yeah. It's just we've both grown. So.
And I hate to, this word is so overused, but balance. Like, I was not as balanced with things then.
Right.
I was, there was a lot of all or nothing just in my mentality. So with running or with other things in my life. And so I've learned to put that aside and like, I'm more balanced, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there are going to be times and cycles in your life where that balance might seem out of balance a little, but as long as, like, you zoom out and you have balance, like, in the macro, things are usually pretty good. Because there are going to be cycles of imbalance. Like, right now, like, I've lived in, like, a cycle of imbalance with, like, I like really just focused on trying to have children because like the clock is ticking, pounding in my ears. And so there is like, that is a little cycle that, you know, I'm in. But I know that like zooming out, first, it'll be worth it. Second, you know, like even on the little micro, it doesn't take up every moment of the day. So we do get like, you know, Brian and I actually went out to dinner last night. We're like, oh, we'll have a little date because he was so busy with having, like, he had a friend in town recording. And it was actually so great that your husband was out of town because we got to spend so much time together when I was like...
Yeah, this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend. So that when I was like, otherwise I would have been here and like the live drums would be going. Like, might have been a lot for me.
Break.
Yeah. So, so that was our long run was this weekend, and Sarah Zagainer, one of our athletes, joined us, and it was pretty awesome. And she is going to join us at Jeff Galloway's half marathon in March.
So exciting in Atlanta.
We have a code for that. So it's jeffgalloway131.com to register for the race, and the code is Ambassador10. For 10% off.
Ambassador 23.
Nope. Yep, that's right.
Did they change it? Or?
No, it's Ambassador 23.
For 10%
The code is Ambassador 23. For 10% off.
It's good for all the races. So it's good for the 5K, it's good for the half, and the challenge if you do
It's
both.
also good for the virtual race. And so if you can't travel to Jeff's race, you're like trying to build your medal collection because we've all been there. And this is a pretty sweet medal. You could register for his virtual race, and then you could go run a half marathon near you and get 2 medals for the same run.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Or you can go run a half marathon on the trail by yourself.
Yeah, especially if you're training for something else and you just want to like join in with the Jeff Galloway fun.
Yeah, so it's going to be pretty fun. And this is also a great segue to an Outside article from 2021.
Yeah, Outside Magazine. And it's, the title is Jeff Galloway may be the most important person in the history of the running movement.
Yeah.
It's a pretty badass title.
Now, it's so funny because they use a word that I have not really heard except in this article. And the quote, the subtitle is, Galloway has done more for the sport of running than anyone I have ever met. No matter what you think of gallow walking. And
I think that's because it's, this is Outside Magazine. So they are, they're up there with, they're looking at all kinds of sport. And Galloway gets a little bit of a reputation for being like a lot of, it's walking. It's, it's for the not the hardcore athletes. It's for the, so that's where, that gallow walking or that.
I know. I don't like it though.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
We, Galloway method, it makes you just as hardcore and badass as any other training method. And, so it's a pretty cool article. It kind of just goes into who Jeff is. I was talking to my business partner yesterday, and I was like, we're chatting about Jeff, and he's like, oh, he's written books, right? And I was like, yeah, he's an Olympian. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, 1972, like Munich, when there was the whole hostage thing. It's like, he's more than just written some books.
He, played by somebody else, is in one of the Steve Prefontaine movies, and I don't remember which one. But, there's 2. There's Prefontaine and there's Without Limits, and they both came out about the same time. And they're both fantastic. I bought them both because I was like, oh, I have to see this. One of them has Jared Leto, and one of them has Al Bundy, and one of them has Donald Sutherland.
That's right.
But they're both really good movies, and one of them has Jeff Galloway.
Yeah.
And we mentioned on an earlier episode how Jeff helped his teammate get into the Olympics when Jeff accidentally got a spot in the 10K. But Jeff Galloway's PR, his personal best marathon from 1980 in Houston, is a 2:16:35, and he walked at water stops. And so that's kind of amazing. Like, that was not done back then. And that's pretty incredible. Can you run a 2:16 marathon?
With or without walk break?
Right. I mean, that's amazing. 2:16. Wait, would 2:16 still get? That's still a men's OTQ, right?
I'll have to look up what they are.
I'm gonna look.
It's females 2:37 now. I don't know if the men's is faster than that or not.
All right, so OTQ marathon. So okay. Oh, yeah, the standard for men is 2:18. So he would still get an OTQ with that 2:16 from 1980.
There you go.
That's pretty incredible.
So we just thought that article was a pretty nice little shout out about Jeff and about how basically just saying, don't sneer at the walking. It can obviously make you faster, and then his impact on running in the world has been a huge impact.
Oh my gosh, this came out in 2021.
Yes.
This article, so he had a heart attack.
Yeah, he had 2, right?
And back to back.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if this was an article that they had, right, because there's a photo from him in the hospital.
Yeah, recovering.
I wonder if this is an article that they had one of those get ready for when they die.
Right, like preparing for them.
But
which
what?
He will not.
I mean,
Jeff's
too strong. He's amazing. But that's one of the reasons why we actually wanted to start this podcast. We want everybody to know who Jeff is and have a chance to meet him, because let me tell you, when you meet Jeff Galloway, you get chills. He is the most positive, amazing person in the world.
He's the nicest person.
He's so nice. I haven't shared this on the podcast yet, but in 2017, in January, I ran the Dopey Challenge, and I had just come off of my very first multiple marathon cycle in 2016. So, and I actually wrote a blog post about it that maybe I can revamp and bring over to our site. But it's how to run multiple marathons in a season and how not to do it. So in 2016...
so you did it the wrong way.
I did it the wrong way, and I did it the right way the next year.
Yeah.
So in 2016, I did a Ragnar Ultra that was not supposed to be an ultra. We had a team drop out. So we had 6 runners drop out. So we were accidentally an ultra. And so I ran 48 miles in the span of 36 hours or 20, whatever it was. Because it was the leg 6 and leg 12 of the DC Ragnar.
Uh-huh.
So 48 miles, that's a lot of miles to cover in a weekend. And then, so that was at the end of September. And then I ran Marine Corps in a 4:01. Devastated that I ran a 4:01. And then 13 days later, I went to Richmond and ran a 4:06 and was still upset. And then I zoom out and I'm like, oh my gosh, I ran a 4:01 and a 4:06 back to back, essentially. Yeah. That's incredible. And then...
But it took probably a couple years to realize.
So then by Thanksgiving, I could barely walk because I had a stress reaction in my ankle. And so I was in a boot from Thanksgiving to Christmas. I was able to clear to start running the 2 days after Christmas or something. So I ran a 4-miler on New Year's Eve and a 5K on New Year's Day. And then I went and ran the Dopey Challenge on almost no training. So back to my story. I finished the 10K and I hear the announcer say, and there he is, Mr. Jeff Galloway, finishing right about the same time I finished. So I, of course, went up and attacked him. Not really. I chatted with him all the way through the finisher corral. I took a photo with him and I was like, Jeff, I want to do training with you again. Because he had trained me for Chicago. Wait, is that right? No, he had not trained me for Chicago because that was in 2017. He had trained me for something else one year because it was a gift from my mom. And so I chatted with him and took my finisher picture with him, and it was amazing. So he's just the nicest person ever. And I had met him a couple times before, also getting beat rad like a teenager meeting Justin Bieber. Like that was the akin of it. It was so fangirly.
And he always takes the time to like chat with people. Like if you stop him at the end of the race, or if you go visit with him at one of the events he's at, or an expo, or when he does meet and greets, like he will take a lot of time to really connect with you, even if he doesn't know you.
And like I still to this day always remind him who I am. Which is so silly because we communicate via email. But I'm always like, and I just always am like thank you so much. Like, and he trained my mom too. Like she did his virtual training program when she was in Germany. So anyway, that was like just my little foray story. It was so cool. And so then how I did the multiple marathons in a season correctly was by slowing down, getting more rest, getting proper training with more. I did a lot of back-to-back running in 2017. And I was able to then PR in Chicago in 2017. Then run. I also did a Ragnar Ultra that year. PR'd in Chicago in early October. I ran Marine Corps easy in 2017. I think I ran Marine Corps. Pretty sure I ran Marine Corps. Yes, I paced Jess in Marine Corps, 409.
Because then you paced me 13 days later.
And then I paced Naomi 13 days later. But that's the difference. I didn't run a 401 and a 404 when my fitness was 401.
Right.
Or 406. Sorry, 401, 406. You ran a 404
That's right.
So in 2017, I ran a PR of 344. Then I ran a 409 in Richmond or in Marine Corps, nice and easy. It was definitely within easy zone for me. And then I went and did 350 with you. So that's really the difference.
Did you do over distance for that cycle?
I will have to look back. I did double long runs because I was still planning. Okay. I was still kind of prepping for Dopey.
Yeah.
And so I'm pretty sure what I did that cycle was back to more like ultra training where I would do 10 or 15 one day and then 20 the next day.
Uh-huh.
And then pretty much not a lot of running during the week because that's what my schedule allowed too. And that's the thing. Everybody's even Jeff will say, just run every other day. And then there's times where your schedule just doesn't allow for that. So you have to work in your running how it works for your schedule.
Yeah.
And one of the things I found is that if you can't get every other day to work, and if you can kind of put 2 rest days after your last long run, you can run back to back with a long run. Put 2 rest days before it and 2 rest days after. So that's 4 days. And then you run 2 days in the middle. That's 6. You can run 1 more time a week. That's your 3 runs.
Yeah, so I was curious because a lot of people would ask, or, you look at our training. Our marathon this season is not till May 21st. It is Mountains to Beach in California. And we're already at 17 miles. And so, that's because of our plan being that, we're being trained by Jeff and we're doing over distance. And so what is over distance and why do we do it? I know it's very... it's kind of a hot topic because a lot of plans out there, a lot of coaches out there currently are suggesting, to really cap out at time or cap out at distance because, they're saying that the return on that additional, time on your feet is more risky as far as injury,
Well, and
injury goes.
So I'm just looking at this. What do you think? This is just a question for you, Naomi. What do you think the volume might look like for someone who's going to run a 344 marathon in a season? What do you think that volume, that build-up volume would look like? And say, for an October race, let's say August, what do you think that volume might look like?
Probably 170, 180 miles.
So in July of 2017, I ran 68 miles. In August of 2017, I ran 107 miles. In September, I ran 123, and that included a Ragnar, where I ran 42 miles. And then in October with the race, ran 82 miles, in November, 83.
Gosh.
So that's the thing with these over distance runs where you have that really long run or you're doing double back-to-backs, your volume during the week does not have to be very high because you're being very specific with your training. And that's the other piece about Galloway. Sure, you can, if you have the fitness and you won't get injured doing volume can certainly help. But when you're starting out, you don't have to be high volume as long as you're targeted. And I did a whole series on our Instagram too, in our stories about how the first time I broke 4 hours, my highest mileage month was 92 miles. And it's just crazy, looking back at that now that I've had 200-mile months.
Right.
To
think that you even could do that. And yeah. So part of it was that you were doing kind of, these heavy weekends. And then, and then a lot of just plans, you can just be running a 30-minute run during the week, couple days a week, especially if that's all you can fit in your schedule.
Right. So I'm looking back and it looks like I really did a lot of double. I really did a lot of double long run weekends, and then with 2 days off before them and 2 days off after. That's really what it looks like. I was running 3 times a week.
So you ran Wednesday and then Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
And heavily load your weekends.
Yeah.
Really. That actually makes pretty good sense with Dopey and with the Ragnars. It's sort of with
a busy life when you have to prioritize sleep, so there's lots of ways to do these plans, and I guess the point of me bringing that up is that a lot of people really scoff at these super long distance runs because they're like, oh my gosh, that's so much volume. But if you're only running 30 minutes or 4 or 5 miles one other day or even 2 other days, it's not a lot of volume. It's not as hard on the body as people might think it would be. And the mental benefits, I don't know about the physical benefits. I personally think that there's physical benefits, but there's a lot of coaches that would say, well, no, there's physically you're getting more breakdown than you are benefit. But I think the mental benefits for the recreational runner drastically outweigh any possible physical negatives. And when you slow down, you're kind of keeping those at bay as much as possible. And then the other piece of it is, even if you're no way, no how, I'm never doing 26 or 29 before, if you know kind of where your fitness is at and what you're kind of aiming for in the marathon. Now, if you're a brand new marathoner, you cannot know this. You could just do your longest run at whatever time you think you're physically capable of, plus 20 minutes. So if you think, I've run a 1:45 half. I know that I'm going to break 4 hours in my first marathon. And if you haven't run a 1:45 half, do not think that you're going to break 4 hours in your first marathon. Just don't think it, because I know a lot of 140X runners who were 4:15 in their first marathon.
Marathon is a different beast.
It's such a different beast. So you would then run, I would say, 1:45. That's probably 4 hours is about a good thing. You run a 4 hour and 20-minute, super slow, easy run, and then you'll be mentally prepared for the distance, I think.
Yeah, and so that's the big thing is that the over distance, which, I was one of those people when Liz said, oh, we do 29 for our long run. I said, no, I'm never doing that. And then, of course, I did. But the over distance, so, preparing you for the wall, it gets you past that point. So you're just, again, it's a lot of mental preparation for it. And then also it's just that confidence booster that you can do it because you've done it. And so, again, I like the idea of if you're not going to go for the 26 or 29, add 20 minutes. So if you think, if you know what you finished last year and you think, okay, I'm around a 4:15 shape, and if I run a 4:35 in training, even though it's only maybe 22 miles, at least you feel like you've covered distance.
Right. I think these mileage-based programs just set you, especially because most runners run too fast. And we will definitely go through and do a head-to-head of all the popular marathon training programs. I think most runners run their long runs too fast. And so if they do 20 miles and they're doing them 20 seconds off what their goal marathon pace is, they will set themselves up for hitting a wall at 20 or 22 miles. They really will. Now, if they were to slow down to, say, 2 minutes, then that 20-mile run might be enough. 2 minutes slower than marathon pace because they'll be out past that time point. And it really is about time on your feet. You know, you can walk your long runs. You can walk good portions of them. You can, let's say, it counts as a long run and it counts as the full distance as long as you don't sit down for more than 2 minutes and as long as you don't take your shoes off. So leave your shoes on. Even if you came home and walked around your kitchen and got a snack and then went back out, it counts the whole time. But if you sit down for more than 2 minutes, because sometimes you do have to like sit down to go to the bathroom or sit down to like adjust a shoe or something. So 2 minutes is a good thing. So don't sit down for more than 2 minutes and keep your shoes on. Then it counts as a long run. You can then go out for 10 miles, come back, get a snack, even, you know, throw on a different coat if it's cold out and go walk another 10 miles. That counts. The entire time counts.
Yeah. And so that's the big thing too with over distance is that you might go out for you might do your 26 and then go for a long 3-mile walk immediately after. Or again, we're doing run walk. So it's very different than going out and running 26 miles, quote, straight because because we're switching back and forth, we're using slightly different muscle groups.
Absolutely.
And so we're not wearing down the way that you would if you ran, so we're not suggesting you go run the full 26 miles or 29 miles. We're just talking about run walk here.
And I know that we're throwing out, like, are you a 4-hour marathoner? But this works even if you're a 6-hour marathoner, if you're going in for your very first marathoner, or if you're trying to qualify for Boston. I've qualified for Boston twice using the run walk method. I ran my first BQ with only a 2-second buffer. It's a great, fun story. We had a friend of ours, Ken, who's a pacer, and he ran with us. And he, I was really fading when the heat got up towards the end of the race. And I was like, I just want to slow down. And he's like, no, let's just keep going. Just keep going. Like, you can do this. And so we get in sight of the finish line and he goes, you want to qualify for Boston, right? And I was like, yes. He goes 30, 29, 28. And I took off like a bullet out of the gun. And my finish was like 5:14 or something. I was actually rehashing this when I was talking to Weston on the phone. And I was like, man, if I had 5:14 in my legs for like 0.2, like
end of a marathon,
why didn't I run the whole thing a little faster? That's something else we can talk about at another time. But actually, it's because I have fast twitch muscle fibers. Like, I am, I'm more of those like jumper sprinter like people. Like, so it's funny that the marathon's my best distance, but it's not funny when you use Galloway because Galloway is like a sprint workout. It's like sprint, recover,
right.
Sprint, recover, sprint, recover. So
yesterday I saw Liz's fast twitch muscles again, firsthand.
In action.
Oh my gosh. So what we did yesterday, we had a workout. We were supposed to do a warm-up mile and then 1.5 miles at goal marathon pace. Then
current marathon
So
fitness.
what we did was, we decided we need to look at this plan because where we're at currently, marathon fitness-wise, may not be what we want to do goal-wise.
Yeah, so we have a leap of faith goal. And a leap of faith goal is absolutely okay to make. So what you do is you take your current fitness and then you kind of say, all right, based on past training or based on how hard I know I can push my body, you set your plan to be slightly out of your reach. Not completely. It's not like, you can run a magic mile of 10 minutes and you're going to set your sights on breaking, sub 4 or breaking 2 hours and a half right away. But let's say your magic mile dictates that you can run a, 4:04. And you say, I'm going to set myself up for breaking 4 or even 3:55.
Or if, like me, you have a magic mile of, like, when we were training for Chicago 2018, my magic mile was 6:15.
Right.
My halves were not, I didn't have I think I had a 1:45 at that point, and actually I might have had a 1:41 at that point, but it was still a leap of faith to even be going for like a 3:40 or a 3:35, which I think we're going for 3:35 at that time.
No, we were going for
3:30.
No, we were going for 3:40 because remember they hadn't changed.
No, they switched it though right then.
They switched it right in like the Chicago weekend.
No, it was in September. Right. So it was right around when I ran that 6:15 that year. And so even though that should show that, okay, I could do a 3:35 according to the Magic Mile, that's still a reach and leap of faith because I'd never done anything faster than a 3:50. So even trying to go from a 3:50 to a 3:35 is a leap of faith.
Yeah. So our training plan right now is set up. Jeff has it set up for like possibly a 3:40 because that's like a big stretch. I have it on our calendar at 3:50, but we are probably in 4:05 shape right now, to be honest. However, all of our training we did yesterday is right around that 3:58.
Right. So instead of going out and doing 1.5 miles at 8:20 pace or
8:30 even.
Right. We actually just intentionally said, all right, let's keep it closer to like 4-hour pace.
Yeah.
And so around 9 minutes. So we did really well on the first 1.5, and then we had these 4 30-second sprints.
They were supposed to be 6:30. They weren't supposed to be. They're supposed to be fast reps, like not all out, but they're supposed to be anaerobic.
But and with anaerobic, we both find that if we're running like 6:30, that's still aerobic for us. Yeah. High aerobic. So we usually do need to push it to where it's totally anaerobic and we're not catching breath at all. Like it's just very. But what was amazing was Liz just took off at each of these, and we were going. I mean, we were well under. Yeah, we were well under. Like even on my slower ones, when I was probably around 6:15 or 6.
I think you were faster than that.
My faster ones were 5:25, and Liz was still charging. About like 30 feet ahead of me. I could not catch her if I had to.
So here's what I do. Here's my trick. So I use Jeff's 2 drills when I do those sprints because they're 30 seconds long. And he's got 2 drills, acceleration gliders and cadence drills. And so I think about my cadence. I don't count my cadence, but I do count.
Count
down. And I think you heard it.
Oh, yeah.
I count seconds. And so I try to find gliding. So I count down from 10 3 times. So I count down from 10 fast. And then I count down from 10 and I say faster. And then I count down from 10 and I say keep going. And I try to find that glide in the last 10. And so it's like I have 3 different top gears. And so if you don't have that, that top gear, and it's funny because also I let you set the pace for the first 10 seconds. And so as you got faster, I was like, I don't know if I can find more gears.
Oh my gosh.
But I did.
Oh yeah.
Like it's really crazy how you're just able to like when you think of it like that. And so, I mean, maybe what we'll try to do is actually slow down that first 10 seconds so that we can build those gears into those fast. But I got to tell you, my abs are sore. Sprinting is the only thing that ever makes my abs sore. It's serious, though, because I did so many years as a diver. And, like, I could do V-ups all day long. I could hold a plank probably for 10 minutes right now if you wanted me to. I mean, I would be shaking, but I could do it. Like, I have a strong core. But the only thing that makes my abs sore is sprinting.
Well, so I'm going to practice and make sure we're practicing those drills because those are the key, and
they're pretty incredible. Acceleration gliders are so fun too because you feel like you're floating at the end.
Yeah. So. And the cadence drill, I love that, where you're really just focusing on quick feet.
Yeah, counting. Boop,
so
boop, boop,
you're just
boop,
looking
boop.
at, how quick you can turn them over.
Yeah. And so it's funny because I do like, very much have the ability at a long distance, for sure, and that's cardiovascular. But it would be so interesting to get a muscle fiber biopsy to see like the fast twitch, slow twitch, intermediate. But I mean, I definitely have some speed in my legs.
Oh yeah. No, it was just like amazing because I was sprinting pretty hard. And again, I was 5:25.
Oh yeah.
And I could never, like, it was just, there was no way I could catch her. And
so, but it's all right.
Amazing.
It's all right. Like in 100 meters, maybe in 200 meters, I've got you. You definitely would have me in a mile. You definitely have me in a 5K. 10K, we've never really, probably you would still have me. But like, I'm pretty sure that if we had to race, head to head, just, I would stay with you in a marathon. I would see that finish line and I'd be gone.
Oh yeah. She'd be down that 5:14 pace.
Which is like sick. No, it's like crazy that I can do that.
It's amazing. It's really amazing.
It's so fun. It's so fun. Like I kind of wish that there was sprinting events for grown-ups. But also, I think I enjoy the long running. I think I would still choose running a 5-hour marathon with a friend over running a marathon for time by myself any day of the week.
Oh, yeah. It's so much more fun when you run together and when you have,
I put together, actually, it's so weird. We were putting together, like, what we've done as far as, like, our runs and stuff. And hold on, where is it? Did I do it in, okay, here we go. So I put together a list of all the marathons I've done, and I've done 27. I thought I had done 29, but I've done 27, and
those are official finishes with a medal.
Yep, except there's 2 virtuals on here. Virtual
with a medal, though.
With a medal. Virtual London and virtual Boston.
Because they would have been live.
If it
weren't for the pandemic.
And they were also with somebody. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them. 10 of my 27 were all pacing somebody and somebody else. Like, they weren't for myself, which is fun. Those are the most enjoyable. Oh my gosh, they're so fun. Runs. It's the best. I love working as a pacer. It's super fun.
And because the goal is outside of yourself. The why is to get someone else across the finish line, whether it's for whether it's for time or to finish.
Oh, you know what? I should probably put a star next to my Boston this year since I ran with Marcy the whole time.
Right. It was not technically a finish for yourself.
Yeah. I should put a star next to that one. So, yeah, it's definitely way more fun. So, again, though, about how mental a head game can be, right? So, in 2018, we were training for sub 340. We were training for sub 340. We knew that they might change the BQ standards. But our training, I remember this, our training was for sub 340, but it was a leap of faith. And in September, and Chicago, it was right about the same time. It was like a week before because Chicago was like the 8th of October. So we find out that the times are all down 5 minutes, and we're like, well, there goes all chance of BQing because I ran a 341.13 in Chicago. Like, had I just pushed the time, like, BQ,
if 340 had still been the goal or the BQ time,
I probably would have dropped, that.
Right.
Minute and a bit. Just like in CIM, had you realized where you were, you could have PR'd.
Or Mountains Beach.
You could have PR'd.
Right.
Right?
Because we want, that's the thing about we were so hyper-focused on one goal, we're setting aside all these other goals.
Yeah.
And, even though at that time we probably still would talk about A, B, C, D goals, but I feel like that we just didn't have that.
It's so hard. It's so hard when you're focused on your own self. And so that's why I would say I would run with a friend any day over running for myself. Any day. It's just so much more fun. So that's a pretty long episode, and we have covered a lot of crazy topics. Don't forget, if you want to support the podcast, you can shop beautycounter.com/RunGallowayGirls. You can shop on our website too. We have a whole blog page called Stuff We Like. All of the affiliates will be there if there's any affiliate links. A lot of the stuff we don't have partnerships with, and so it's just stuff we like.
Just stuff we like. We'll add native deodorant to it.
Yeah,
that's one that we
just
love.
We just have, we want to share things that we like, things that we find useful, things that we think you'll like, even if things that we've used in the past that maybe we don't use it anymore, but we definitely find value in it. So, yeah. And hopefully we'll come back with another bonus episode this week because it's so fun to record a podcast.
It is. And so, yeah, if you can, go out, find us, like us, subscribe, follow. Please, leave us ratings, leave us a review, and share with your friends. We love
and
it.
Tag us. Yeah, if you listen to this podcast, please screenshot it and share it on Instagram and tag us in your stories.
Yeah,
tag us.
Run Galley Girls.
Yeah. So we appreciate you guys so much. We hope that the beginning of this podcast felt enough like running to keep you listening. But thanks again for all of your support, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.